Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Please excuse the wet hair. I got very sick of waiting for it to dry. But today I am going to be doing something that a lot of people have been doing lately on BookTube, and that is revisiting my first ever book haul. I know Kayla from Books and Lala did this a while ago, and I recently saw Ariel from Ariel Bissett do this, and I was like, that sounds fun and potentially harmful. I'm just gonna go back and watch my first ever book haul. I am going to see if I have read any of those books, and if I haven't read or gotten rid of those books, I'm going to not read them. I don't think I'm gonna like make this like a TBR kind of thing. Basically, I'm just gonna set them aside, and they'll either be a priority or I will realize that I have no interest in reading them anymore, so I should get rid of them. So throughout quarantine, my favorite things to do have been to either read the books that have been sitting on my bookshelves at my parents' house for years and years and years, or unhaul a ton of books, and I've been enjoying doing both of those things. So I am hoping this will continue to help me do that. So I've stalled long enough, and now it is time to watch this completely, totally awkward video. But like, I'm still awkward, so it's probably not much different if I'm being honest. Oh, it was posted August 19th in 2015, so it's going on 5 years ago. So I was, how old? 19? Okay, let's see. I don't want to actually, oh, I have red lipstick on? That's fun. Ooh, my teeth look kind of nice. Okay. So the first book is Ashes to Ashes by Jenny Han. I have gotten rid of this. I just recently unhauled that. I originally had like the whole series, and I did indeed get rid of that. I really liked the first one, but it'd been like 10 years since I read the first one, so it was definitely time for me to unhaul those. Next up we have Everneath. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that book. Basically, this was when I started my channel and really just wanted the whole BookTube aesthetic of having like a wall of books behind you. I have since gotten over that in like a real way. I no longer feel like I need to own a million books. Working at the library helps a lot with that. This book I definitely got off Book Outlet. I definitely bought it just because I'd heard it hauled a couple of times, and I definitely had no idea what it was about, and still have no idea what it's about. I definitely got rid of it. Wow, can I say definitely anymore? I got rid of it a few years ago, I want to say. Next up is Partials. Again, it's definitely a book I just bought off Book Outlet because I'd heard it mentioned a couple times. Didn't read it, got rid of it. I forgot about that book. This was Trouble by Non Pratt. I bought this book off of Book Outlet for really cheap, and it was because Reagan from Peruse Project mentioned it in a video, and so I decided I was going to buy everything that I had ever heard mentioned on BookTube. Next is Lux. Oh god. Yeah, I got rid of those a while ago. Yeah, I did not care about this series at all. At this point, it's really funny just to see how I didn't know what I liked to read at all, and I just kind of was taking what people were mentioning in videos, not even really recommending, just mentioning in videos, and buying it and putting it on my shelves and then never reading it. Like, I have no idea what I was even reading at this point, but it wasn't any of these books, so I was just buying them to fill shelves. Oh, the next up is The Golem and the Jinni. I remember I unhauled this during the Unhaul Challenge tag that was going around a couple years ago, and it was like a book that you bought for the cover, and it's definitely a book I bought for the cover. It's just a really beautiful piece of artwork on the front. It's very pretty, but I had no idea what it was about, and I wasn't about to pick it up, so why did I own it? I've gotten pretty good at, you know, narrowing it down and getting rid of books that I have no interest in or I have no idea what they're about. And I've pretty much kept stuff that I at least have some level of interest in, which is good. We will see if it ever gets read, but I have interest. Oh, next up is The Rosie Project and The Rosie Effect. I just recently got rid of these. I don't know if I'm going to read a book that's in this haul. Like, I don't know if I'm going to have read a book or still own a book in this haul. The Rosie Project and the Rosie Effect definitely was mentioned on Reagan's channel. I was a huge Peruse Project fan at the time. It was like my top booktube channel. Everything I read, or not even read, bought, was because Reagan was recommending it. And these were two books that definitely went around with that, and definitely not books that I read. Next up is The Crane Wife. I tried to read this book. I read the first and maybe the second chapter of it, and I just could not get into it. I know it's about a man who wakes up and finds a crane in his yard, and it takes off from there, and I straight up was just like, I am not into this at all. I have since decluttered it, don't own it anymore, don't have any interest to own it. Oh, hey, I read a book in this video. This is exciting. Next up was Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. I really liked this book at the time. I read it in college. I stayed up late to finish it. I did enjoy it in the moment. Now, I see its problems, and I don't think if I read it now I'd enjoy it. I think I just kind of, back then I was a really blind reader. I just kind of took things at face value. I didn't look into anything. I'm definitely better at paying attention to what is being said about a book or an author, and using that knowledge instead of just like blindly buying things. So that's good. However, I at one point enjoyed Eleanor and Park. I have no intention of ever reading it again. I have no desire to. I have gotten rid of it. But I did read it and I did enjoy it at the time. Next up is The Enchanted. Another Peruse Project mention. I don't even know if it was a recommendation. She mentioned it. Yet again, tried to start this book. I believe it's about like a prison, like a magic prison. Maybe it's not magic, I don't know. All that I know is that I started it and I was like, nope. I was really not into adult lit at this point. Like any kind of adult fiction, I was just, nope. I was only reading YA. I was only enjoying YA. If I picked up an adult book, I was just like, this is boring. So 19-year-old me had a lot of taste. Next up is The Beginning of Everything. I just recently got rid of this. Really fun, bright yellow cover. I think I heard it mentioned a couple times on BookTube and was like, yeah, sure. No clue what it's about. No idea. I'm pretty sure it's a contemporary. With that cover, it's probably a contemporary, but nope. The Summer I Turned Pretty, It's Not Summer Without You, and We'll Always Have Summer. I did recently declutter these. I did read these, or rather reread these. I originally read this series when I was in middle school and absolutely loved it, and then I repurchased, I think I borrowed them. I purchased them so that I could reread them. I enjoyed them. They weren't bad. They're just pretty typical summer YA contemporaries. Actually, the later two did a lot more for me than the first one did. But yeah, I'm never gonna read those again, but I have read them and they were decent summer reads, so. I'm not proud of myself because I read like 4 of these books. Next up is The Nightingale, which, yeah, is right behind me because I'm trying to read that this month. We'll see, I don't know. Yeah, obviously I haven't read it, but I still own it. That says a lot about this. I still have interest in it. I'm pretty sure it's World War II. It's the highest rated book on my TBR shelf, which has probably been its saving grace. I probably shouldn't put that much stock into it, but I do. So I've kept it, and I will eventually read it when I'm in the mood to probably be kind of sad, which is not the time at the moment, but. Next up is The Goldfinch. I have gotten rid of this book. Historical fiction, I'm pretty sure. I don't actually know. Yet again, I'm pretty sure I just heard in passing about this book, saw it somewhere, and was like, yeah, sure. So yeah, I've since gotten rid of it. I don't own it anymore. Next up is Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. I've gotten rid of this. I believe I've given it away through the library, maybe. Fairly recently. I'm not, YA contemporaries don't interest me like they used to. It has to be pretty compelling for me to want to read it or really raved about. I had a friend who read this book and she was like, it's fine. And I'm like, then I'm good. I picked it up from Target one day probably, so it's fine. Next up is Will Grayson. Will Grayson, this is in a pile to get rid of right now. I'm gonna get rid of it at the end of this month, just because it's the only John Green book I've never read, but I just don't care to read it. I'm very much over my John Green phase. I was, once upon a time, huge John Green fan. Not anymore. I don't feel like I need to read it. I don't feel like I'm missing out. Comment down below if I'm wrong and I won't get rid of it. But that's going. It's on its way out. Oh, another book that I haven't read but still own. And that is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I don't know why I can't say peculiar in a sentence, but yeah. It's a book I need to read. It's pretty hyped. A lot of people love it. Haven't read it, own it. I'll get around to it, I think, probably one day. I just also think it's to the point where it's older. It's kind of run its course of hype. But it's also still a pretty quintessential booktube book. And I just get kind of nervous about those. So we'll see when I read it. I'm almost positive I'm going to read it. It kind of sounds exhausting to me, reading hyped up booktube books, but we'll see. Next up is Modern Romance. I have indeed gotten rid of this book, mostly just because the premise sounded really interesting, but I didn't care enough to read it, obviously, so it's gone. It's gone. Next up, we have City of Bones and Clockwork Angel. I am getting rid of these books. I've just decided that I don't need to read Cassandra Clare's books. I'm good. I'm good. There's so many in her world now, and you really have to start at the beginning, and it's just so intimidating that I don't want to start. I've also heard that, like, oh, the first couple aren't great, but you get into it and it gets better. I don't have time for that, so they're leaving. I'm pushing them out of the nest. Last up, we have The Wrath and the Dawn. I read this about a year ago. I gave it a 3-star. It was fine. I'm not going to be continuing with the series, but it didn't offend me in any way, I didn't dislike it. I didn't love it, but it was fine. So how many of those have I read? 1, 2, okay, we're at 5. I read 5 of those. 5 out of many. How many do I own but haven't read? 2. 2 that I'm not getting rid of but haven't read. That isn't bad. I'm actually kind of impressed with myself for accepting the fact that I wasn't going to read these books and getting rid of them. Obviously, I would have liked to have read more of these books because I spent money on them, but you can't go back. I really should go back and look into what I was actually reading in 2015 and 2016, because obviously it wasn't these books. So what was I spending time on? Like books for school, probably? I don't know. But that was really fun. I feel better about myself as like a person who gets rid of a lot of stuff. I feel like, oh, okay, I'm not doing so bad. But yeah, it was super fun. Comment down below what you were reading in 2015 and 2016. Probably point out things that I didn't get to and will feel bad about. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, all the normal stuff, and I'll see you guys again super soon. Bye.